Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. We went into the only bar in town which was unlocked, unattended with music playing, but not a single soul present. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. Serious, eerie towns, disappearing diners, and creepy gas stations. What's your true, unexplained story of being in a place that shouldn't exist? Number 1. Commenter. When my brother and I were 10 and 12 respectively, our family went on a hike through the cemetery and into the woods not far from our house. My brothers and I would explore these woods every day. Even camped in them before. We knew it like the back of our hands. Anyway, as the family hit our usual spot by the creek halfway through, brother 1 and I said we'd be back in a few. We wanted to wander off further up creek. So we did. We came across a very large hill we had never seen before. It was littered with what looked like someone's worldly possessions. As if they turned a house upside down, shook out the contents, took the house and left. There were tons of painted X's on the trees showing someone intended to cut them down at some point. We poked around for a few when we thought we heard our mom hollering at us. So we turned tail and walked maybe 20 feet back down the hill to where our parents were. The entire encounter was maybe 45 minutes long, on our end. As soon as our mom saw us, we got the beating of a lifetime. We had actually been gone almost 4 hours. She never saw us walk up any hill and remembered seeing us meandering down the straight path by the creek, not turning up a hill that was 20 feet away. She and her husband and our other brother combed the woods for over 4 hours screaming our names and couldn't find hide nor tail of us. We pleaded our case and even tried showing her the hill. Surely she was messing with us. So we stomped up to the turnoff for the hill and it was gone. Nowhere to be seen. For years we explored the woods determined to find that effing hill. We covered miles and miles of off-path woods. As we got older we mapped it out. To this day that hill does not exist. We never found it again. Never found the weird furniture, toys, clothes, and other household items that were scattered across the hill. And never met anyone in the area that had a clue about the hill. We probably just wandered way further than we meant to, but I always found it weird that we never found the hill again. Person B. I believe you. There is a nearby farm that has a frequent mirage or glitch. You can see an 1800s era farmhouse with family working outside. Wife and daughters tending the garden, husband and son in the field. Lasts several seconds, then fades out of this place in time. Person C. I had an experience like that with a group of friends when I was younger. We lived in a trailer park in the country, and we all decided to go exploring the area we collectively called the middle of nowhere. We hiked out past the fence that separated the park upman and went exploring. We found a lot of junk just scattered around. Toys, appliances, furniture and stuff like that. No roads or trails leading to this stuff, which was odd because it wasn't small stuff. The oddest thing we found was the remains of an old stone house tucked back into a grouping of trees. Again, no road or trails leading there. We went back in it a few times but never found the house again. Number 2. The story starts about 15 years ago, and it was during the summer when about 6 of my cousins decided to come and spend the night. We were playing in the woods and our ages ranged from about 9 to 15. Although that is a pretty large swing, it was because of the little brother of one of the cousins. The rest of us were 12 to 15. The day started normal and we were walking through the woods looking for cool stuff. There were Pepsi bottles and cans from the 70s and other trash, and then we came to the pond that is on the lake. Now the pond is not that far from our house. It is maybe a quarter mile in and very easy to find. They had a hill that went up it, and since the last time I went there we saw there was a trailer house, parked in the middle of the woods. This is impossible to put there. These are Texas woods with vines, bushes, spiderwebs, and all sorts of things that make it way too hard to drive in there. Not only that, it looked really old and run down, like it had been there for a very long time. That was simply not possible, and we decided to go investigate. We went up and the first thing we saw was a large clearing with a campfire that was used recently. The clearing was free of trees, trash, and had been raked of the leaves. It was large enough that you could fit maybe 20 chairs evenly around in front of the trailer. The second thing we noticed was a large cross turned upside down leaning on the trailer. There were also smaller upside down crosses nailed into the trees around the clearing. Some of the cousins wanted to see inside the trailer, but the oldest, 15, told us absolutely not. He was a lot larger than us and played AHS football. The rest of us were in middle school, so we listened and left. We told my dad and he went with my uncle. Both of them were armed and went to see what was going on in the woods really close to the house. They could not find it, and we went back the next day and everything was gone. When I mean everything, I mean that there were now trees where we saw the clearing, fully grown. My cousins and I still talk about it, and there have been 3 trips to go find it over the years and have come up empty-handed. We lived in a haunted house, and the woods would have activity at night as well. We thought it was just another haunted event due to the background of the house we lived in. House was burned down by a local witch who sold it to my dad very cheaply because they proved it was her fault. Some people told my dad that the house caught fire during one of her rituals and she ran out of the house with cigarette burns all over her body that day. Number 3. Many years ago, 2 of my best friends and I decided to go for a day of mountain biking at Snowshoe in southern Virginia. Now this was way before the days of GPS, so we were kinda doing this by some half-assed directions and an old map, but the point is we got very lost. Sometime along the way we ended up in this very tiny little town, and we figured we would ask for directions. It was absolutely deserted. I'm talking not a single soul to be seen anywhere. We parked the truck and split up looking for anyone. Now this was at around 9 to 10 a.m., so not exactly the ass crack of dawn, mind you. We went into the post office, nobody. We went into the only bar in town, which was unlocked, unattended with music playing, but not a single soul present. We went business to business to business and walked the streets, and after about 25 minutes finally found one old guy who just seemed to appear out of nowhere in the middle of town walking alone. The first question we asked him wasn't even for directions. It was, "Where the hell is everyone?" to which he replied, "Well, I guess folks round here don't get up much till round noon." We asked him for directions to Snowshoe, and he pointed to the road we came in on and said to go that way about 10 miles and make a right and we will find the interstate. We left quickly. We all had a very bad sense of unease about the whole thing. As we left, we were about 5 miles down the road and hit a lady dressed up in a state road uniform standing in the middle of a very long straightaway holding a stop sign. When we approached her, she turned the sign from slow to stop. We asked what was going on. She stated that there was road construction ahead. We told her of what just happened, and she just kinda laughed and said those people in that town are kinda strange, but let it slide. So we actually started talking here, waiting for a line of traffic to come by from the opposite direction. We actually ended up talking to her for about 45 minutes to an hour, just shooting the shit. Kinda got lost in the convo. Not one single vehicle ever approached from the other direction or behind us. Eventually she said, "Well, I guess it's clear now and y'all can go ahead," and slowly turned the sign from stop to slow and motioned for us to go ahead. We went straight ahead, the only direction you could possibly go for the next 30 some odd miles, and didn't see any signs of construction, state road workers, or maintenance going on at all. She had no vehicle. We figured she was a flag woman dropped off by some crew up ahead. After the encounter with the town and this woman, we had enough and called it quits. We turned on the interstate as soon as we found it and headed north and home. Every single one of us still remembers this whole encounter in vivid detail to this day. I asked my friend about it actually about 3 months ago at this wedding, and it still freaks him out to no end. Number 4. My grandparents had a big farm when I was growing up, and all of the grandkids would help work it over the summer when we were out of school. Anytime we saw a rabbit, we were supposed to get it with a hoe or grab the shotgun. I was around 12 or so when I saw a little rabbit in the beans, and I didn't want my grandfather to see it, so I tried to chase it off. Followed it into the brush on the land, and for whatever reason I just kept following it because usually I'd lose sight of them pretty quickly once they hit the brush. Kept following it until I found what was clearly an old barn ruin. These are pretty normal to happen upon where I'm from, and they're fun to look around inside, so I went in. It was weirdly kept up really well with antique tools in great shape and fresh hay. I worried I had crossed into our neighbor's property, so I hightailed it out of there. I asked my grandfather about it, and he said our land went way far past what I had described. And I couldn't have left our land in the short amount of time I was gone, so he followed me out there and we couldn't find it. I checked every summer I worked there and never found it again. Not creepy, but it always drove me crazy where that stupid barn went. Number 5. In the 7th grade I had a friend that lived near a beach on a bay of Lake Michigan. One day in early May it reached 70 degrees, nearly unheard of for that time of year in northern Wisconsin. My 2 friends, including the beach friend, excitedly rode our bikes down to the beach to maybe dip our toes in, expecting still frigid waters, and then tan for the rest of the afternoon. The water, though, was surprisingly warm. Like bathwater warm. In this particular area of the bay the water was shallow for about a half mile out, and we joyously splashed around, wading deeper and deeper until we were about chest deep. As we dunked each other and swam with abandon, I started to feel sick. Bad headache, nausea, wobbly. Just then, my other two friends mentioned that they also felt sick. We headed back to shore, nearly crawling by the time we got out. The three of us collapsed under a tree and fell asleep for 2-ish hours. When we woke up, we talked about how weird it was. I dipped my toe back in the water and it was freezing cold. To this day, I have no idea what was in there. I do know that there is a chemical plant in town that used to manufacture things like Agent Orange, and that their practices were known to be less than environmentally conscious. I have never touched that water since. Number 6. Was driving through Illinois to get to Chicago about a decade ago with a group of friends, and we stopped at a Taco Bell. The first thing we noticed was that the workers were acting very odd. Everything they said was monotone and rehearsed. After sitting in this fairly busy restaurant for a bit, we kind of all just looked at each other at the same time as we realized that none of the conversations happening around us made any sense. The people were speaking, and it was English, but the sentences weren't logical. They were just saying words at each other. We didn't say much about it until we got outside, at which point we all freaked out and confirmed each other's experiences at once, and got the F out of there. We jokingly refer to that place as the NPC Training Center since the people didn't seem to be real, or they were learning how to be human or something. Still freaks me out. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.